I'm one to state gerrymandering is bad altogether, and fighting fire with fire only ignites the bullshit that we are facing.
Why would you want to give the Republicans Congress for the rest of time?
I don't.
Well, then why do you support Gavin Newsom standing down and just letting the Republicans do all their gerrymanderings while we just can stand with our dick in our hands?
No.
Yes,
I
you
don't
do.
support. My problem with that is going down the rabbit hole, is spiraling down this state, that state, this state, that state. Everybody is going to start following the gerrymandering.
Dude, it's already happened. I don't know what to tell you. It's too late. Say it with me. Let's go, Newsom. Ready? Let's go, Newsom. Let's go, Newsom.
I can't.
You have to. Wait, don't be a little bitch. Support what he's doing. Hey, folks. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And make sure to check out my newsletter. Information is in the description. What up, Enrico? What can I do for you?
No, I don't have disagreements, so I'm sorry for breaking the rules. If
You're good.
I am, but I have a lot of questions.
Hit me.
So, with considering we're facing the DC situation as well, I'm in Texas, and we're facing that bullshit. What chances do we have right now as far as the liberal side? Because I'm an independent, but I lean left as considering right now.
Mm-hmm.
What chances do we have right now of fighting all of the shit that's happening?
Yeah, so they want you to be scared. They want you to feel powerless. And so when you say what chance do we have of fighting, it depends what you mean by fighting. If what you mean by fighting is like, I don't know, like preventing the overthrow of our country, I think we have good odds. I think that we can do it, and I think that it. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, Abbott had a interview with CBS, I think it was, or was it NBC, like morning, where they were interviewing him. The guy literally read off portions of the Texas Constitution, saying that parties are enabled and empowered to break quorum if they are against what's happening, the bills that are passed. And Abbott just went on a lie and kind of, well, it's not this, it's not that. Yet the Republicans literally broke Congress to avoid voting on the Epstein file bills. So when it comes down to it, the propaganda, the contradictions that are happening right now, they're way out in front of things, and it's hurting my soul.
So you can't get hung up on the double standard stuff, because the double standard is true, and trust me, I, as someone who has these debates, it drives me crazy. But you can't let that affect your mental state, because like if you were to just like focus on the double standard all day, like you would lose your mind. And so I understand why it's frustrating to see, for example, so what you're saying is like, oh, it's unconstitutional to break quorum for some other purpose, but yet they're doing something in Congress to leave Congress for the Epstein files. Is that hypocritical? Like, probably. I haven't thought about it that much, but it's probably some level of hypocrisy. Have Republicans done this kind of shenanigans and tactics before? Yeah, for sure. Is it legal under Texas law? I'm not sure if it's legal under Texas law, but don't get hung up on the I think that this is a story perhaps of optimism there, right? It's like, is it bad that Abbott is doing this kind of maneuver? Yeah. Is it hypocritical for the reasons you stated? Probably, yeah. But look at what the Democrats are doing. The Democrats are the ones who broke quorum in the first place. There's some Democrats willing to fight. And Gavin Newsom has welcomed them and says, if Texas does this thing, we will follow suit. So it should give you, I think that the story of the quorum stuff in the Texas should give you hope that there are Democrats who are getting the fucking message, get with the program, that they're willing to fight. And there still is an ability for a lot of Democrats to fight. We just need to choose to do it. So yeah, that's why the story brings me optimism, because it's not really a shift in terms of the dynamic or the votes in a particular governmental office or body or anything. It's the change in mentality which is critical, and which I've been arguing for. It's a change in how we view the present crisis and the present administration. That's what most fundamentally needs to change. Until that changes, and I'm starting to see some signs that people are taking it seriously, nothing will. But in general, I think that whole saga gives me more hope than it does pessimism.
And that's true. And I think Texas, of all amongst maybe Pennsylvania and California, have the strongest Dem candidates, but and the bench when you're looking at Jasmine Crockett, which I live in her district as
Oh
it
yeah,
stands right now, and then James Tallarico,
yeah.
who is reaching out across the aisle amongst all sorts of platforms and doing his thing when he's a Democratic Christian and he's like more modern and more centralist, if you will. But I'm not one. I am one to say gerrymandering is bad altogether, and fighting fire with fire only ignites the bullshit that we are facing, and it increases the risks of, especially right now, when it comes to trying to push Trump and his agendas and his supporters out. If the Democrats like Gavin Newsom saying, "Oh, we're going to gerrymander the state," that does not help the cause. You're literally tit for tat.
So you don't support
With
it?
for me, it's hard to say. I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the energy. I love the energy. I love the effort. But I don't think it helps because at the end of the day, everyone is going to look at the Democrats going, well, they did this. They're supporting this cause. So why are they not doing? Why are they not supporting us at the end of the day?
So let's talk it out. All right. So first off, I want to say I want you to support it, right? Because I appreciate and agree that like you're in favor of the energy. I also appreciate the energy, but it's beyond that. Like I want you to support the actual thing itself. And the reason why I want you to support the thing itself is because not only is it, I think, not going to lead to this parade of horribles that you're suggesting. I would argue we're kind of already there, but it's the most likely thing to undo the parade of horribles that we're already in. And I think it's justified because the Democrats are, in terms optically, right, to the extent that the public is going to have any backlash on someone, the odds that it's the Democrats as opposed to the Republicans is lower. There's no reason to think that the Republicans will face less backlash than the Democrats, or the Democrats will face more backlash than the Republicans. So I do want to push you there and see what you think about that. So if you're okay with that.
No, that's fine. My problem is with the MAGA, if you will, and their grip on the Republican Party and their grip on politics right now.
Can't change that, right?
Right. However, if you continue to push, that grip gets tighter.
The grip is absolute.
And yeah, and I am all for one. The tighter you hold, the more leaks out of your grasp.
I want to. I hate to break this to you, Enrico. I hate to break this to you. The grip is at 100%. It's effectively at 100%. It can't go any stronger. The grip is essentially total. So there's.
I mean, I'd like to agree with you on that one. However, the grip is 100% on certain issues. Now we're talking about different ones, right? Like we're talking about, so if we go social economics or social demographics, yes, the MAGA grip is 100% when it comes to immigration and transgender and the economics of things. Now we're talking about having seats in government.
No, what matters is the support for the government right now in terms of the grip. When I'm referencing the grip, yeah, among the Republican crowd, there are different policy visions and like viewpoints that you can point out to, but the grip that Trump has on the Republican Party, by which I mean Republican voters, and by which I mean the Republican infrastructure, that's the RNC, that's all of the the various politicians and people who are in charge of state level parties, in charge of media, like the grip between Trump and the institutional and popular forces that make up the Republican Party is absolute. And that's why, so there's no risk that we're going to push Republicans into MAGA extremism. They're already there. And if you don't think that that's the case, I don't know what movie you're watching, man.
No, I'm not watching a movie. I'm just watching
metaphorically. That's all I mean.
Yeah, and I know. I'm watching the trends, right?
Yeah.
So, for instance, in New York, Trump is trying to get out ahead of Mondani. Okay. They are trying to push gerrymandering here in Texas and Ohio. When it comes down to it, they are trying to federalize the police in D.C. They are doing everything that they possibly can politically and within the boundaries that they have, pushing the point, pushing the boundaries that they have, to get every single ounce of power that they can possibly get. I absolutely respect and appreciate every single Texas Democrat doing everything that they can to prevent.
But can we just pause real
bill.
quick, Enrico? So I appreciate what you're saying right now, and I just want to say what I'm talking about first, and I want to see if you agree with it. Is kind of like an internal check on the Republican Party as such, not whether or not the Republicans are doing things the Democrats or the Republicans are trying, like, outwardly faces, but inwardly facing. As within the Republican Party, subservience to Trump is practically, for all intents and purposes, absolute. And I want to know if you agree with that. That like there is no like MAGA wing versus establishment wing. Trump's dominance is ubiquitous, and I want to know if you agree with that. But we can move on to like the ways in which that apparatus, which I consider as being essentially dominated by MAGA and Trump, the ways in which that's interacting with the other world. But at least, as a constitutive matter, how could you argue that the Republican Party currently is not totally in the hands of Trump and his inner circle?
Well, one of the examples I can give on that one is apparently Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer are having a fight.
That's typical of like any kind of, I'm going to say the word, like cult, or any kind of situation in which there's a dear leader. Like even among, I'm just sorry, I'm going to bring it up because I've been reading a lot on Nazi Germany and whatever, right? But like there's internal squabbles between members of constituent groups that make up the Republican Party, and yeah, they fight among themselves. They try to get up the pecking order. They have these little private and public squabbles, but that doesn't, just because there are heterogeneous makeup of the party, they are unified in their allegiance to Trump. And so, yes, there are differences between members of the MAGA coalition, and the MAGA coalition has different elements that make it up that believe different things. But in all respects, they are subservient and will follow the commands of the leader. It's just who the leader is listening to.
That's fair. They'll eat themselves to try to get on top of
Right.
to reach power. That's fair. No, you're right. When it comes down to it, the Republican Party is following one word, and the problem that I see is that the Democratic Party is following half a dozen.
Right. Well, there's not a unifying, and that's not to suggest that we ought to be, the Democratic Party could be or ought to be just like subservient to one guy. I don't ultimately think it's super healthy for the Republican Party to be in the state that it's in, where like there's just this unified and unitary control by Trump. So that's not a state that I necessarily want to emulate, but I would agree to the extent that you're suggesting that the party is like, the Democratic Party is like too scattered and doesn't have a sufficient amount of unity. I think that I would somewhat agree with that. And my argument has been that they need to be unified in their opposition to Trump. But it seemed to be that you were suggesting that you were concerned that a strategy, for example, of responsive gerrymandering, responsive partisan gerrymandering in California could lead MAGA to entrench itself in the Republican Party and to get greater control of the Republican Party. But I just don't understand, like, that has already been accomplished. And Gavin Newsom or the Democrats doing things can't change that. That's just we can't affect that.
Well, considering the Democrats posed a bill to outlaw that, how can we really stand on a platform to say we're going to do the same thing that you're going to do?
So we can justifiably do it, and I'll tell you why. So we can justifiably do it because the Supreme Court says it's an issue for the states, and for Congress to decide. It's a political question that the courts can't resolve, or at least the Article 3 courts can't resolve without some help from Congress or from the respective states. So as a pure legal matter, except to the extent that it conflicts with state law, it's within the control of the respective political branches, and that is what the Supreme Court decided. So as a matter of law, we're not doing anything incorrect. As a matter of policy, Democrats have been on the forefront of trying to fight for nonpartisan commissions to decide issues of, independent gerrymandering, independent state redistricting. So Democrats previously have been in the side, and that's the reason why there are all these additional hurdles in states like California, New York, is because Democrats were advocating for this kind of stuff, and they did propose legislation multiple times in Congress to achieve this end of independent, nonpartisan redistricting. That said, right, the Republicans started first. They drew first blood, and they gerrymandered the fuck out of everywhere they touched. The Democrats did so in response as well, for sure, 100%. I'm not going to deny that, but Republicans drew first blood. The Democrats are the ones who were willing to get rid of it. And for us, in response, to do something that was allowed by the Supreme Court to be done, I think that should not be taken as us being on the same moral equivalence of the Republicans, because the minute that a bipartisan law would pass Congress and be signed by the president outlawing this practice altogether, it would be supported by Democrats. Democrats were in these litigation fights arguing that the Supreme Court should get involved in these partisan gerrymandering fights. And so I think that the moral high ground is maintained by Democrats' consistent push towards an ultimate solution here, a federal solution that achieves a balanced and unified outcome across the states. Their history in championing litigation and actually implementing independent redistricting commissions in their state constitutions, etc., and us basically reacting to this push by Trump to get Texas to do it. I think everyone can see the big picture here, and know that the Democrats are only doing this responsibly, and if given the opportunity, would propose and support an independent redistricting. So I think that we maintain the high ground here.
Well, and that's fair. I mean, I know Texas is still under a lawsuit from 2021 when they did it last time. They are still trying to fight that cause, and that census that was allegedly unconstitutional or illegal. I know North Carolina recently did it as well, but at the same time, I mean, I just think that.
But why not? Why would you be against it? Because think about it. The only way we're going to get Republicans, right? Like, the only way Republicans are going to support a congressional statute, which is what we would need to outlaw partisan gerrymandering. The only way they're going to do it is if they see some benefit in for themselves. So the best way to achieve the outcome that we all want, which is independent redistricting, is for Democrats to gerrymander the fuck out of their independent districts. The way that you entrench, unlimited Republican majorities and unlimited partisan gerrymandering is to just let the Republicans walk all over you. I mean, are you really suggesting that we should let the Republicans do gerrymandering, which was allowed by the Supreme Court, and for the Democrats to just not? Is that really what you're suggesting?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Like I said, I am all for every single state senate to break quorum to the point that their state constitution allows. If a state says we're going to gerrymander the thing, and when it comes to the boundaries and they are saying it's unconstitutional, that you are trying to rig the election, you're trying to bend the rules, you're doing whatever. What I am saying is we have no guarantee that a Democratic representative is going to win that district, regardless if it's California, regardless if it's Ohio, New Mexico, Texas, North Carolina, Nebraska, Iowa, etc. And so at the same time, I am fully on board saying gerrymandering is illegal across the board. And that is
but the Democrats support that. But the Democrats support that. But we can't get it done right now because we don't control Congress and the presidency.
I know the catch-22, right?
It's not a catch-22. It's not a catch-22.
No. Well, Democrats support it, but they don't have support in the federal thing. But do they have support in those in the states?
For what?
My biggest question is, can they? So, are there any states that have Democratic power, the Democratic Party power, to outlaw gerrymandering and say we're done with it and we're not going to do it.
Yeah, presumably there are places where they could do that, but why would they? Why should they? In their states.
But
I'm
at
asking a
the
question.
same
Why
time,
should they?
why should they?
Why should we, as democratic states, outlaw partisan gerrymandering when the Republicans are doing the reverse and basically trying to upgrade their partisan gerrymandering?
Problem with your question is I want to answer it with a question: is why wouldn't
I
they?
wouldn't appreciate
They
that.
can, if they can outlaw it, if they can outlaw gerrymandering in that state and codify it, why wouldn't they?
Because it would be detrimental to the interests of the country. It would be detrimental to the ultimate aim of getting rid of partisan gerrymandering. It would entrench a Republican majority for years and years to come for no reason, for no benefit. It would be totally damaging to the structure of our Constitution, the future of our country. Why would it's so stupid to do it? It would be disastrously fucking dumb to do what you're suggesting.
And I appreciate your sentiment on that one.
Sure.
However, if the Democrats are already proposing a bill federally to outlaw gerrymandering, why wouldn't they do that in their state?
Because it's different if it's a national partisan gerrymandering ban because it applies equally to red and blue states. And in that sense, and by the way, they've already done that with respect to New York and California. They've already implemented independent redistricting because they were serious about this push for a while.
Yeah, it's in the Constitution, like California.
Yeah, sure. So, but the reason why it would be consistent to support a national, ban on partisan gerrymandering, notwithstanding supporting gerrymandering in your own state, is simple. You say, I support banning partisan gerrymandering so long as everyone has to have it banned. That is a consistent position. There's nothing inconsistent about it, correct? Yes or no?
Say that question one more time.
Can you identify an inconsistency in the following statement? I support banning partisan gerrymandering if it's banned in every state. If and only if it's banned in every state.
Yes.
What's the contradiction?
Okay. So, and forgive me if I'm getting this wrong. Minnesota is a democratically held.
Sorry, I'm asking you what the contradiction is.
I know, and I'm trying to give you an example. Is Minnesota a democratically held, like majority state?
I believe it's a bare majority. There was an assassination that might have made it split somewhere. I don't know.
That's fair. But let's give that example. If Minnesota is a democratically held state, then yes, I can see them saying, it does not. Your question is flawed on that one.
Sorry. I didn't understand what you mean. What do you mean by the question is flawed?
We have the power in this state. So
no, sorry, I'm asking you a question. You just said your question is flawed. What did you mean when you said your question is flawed? I don't know what you meant by that, so I need to know what you mean.
You asked me if there was a flaw in the policy.
No, I asked you if there's a contradiction in the following statement. I'll repeat it again. So in the following policy position, I support banning partisan gerrymandering if and only if every state is required to ban it. Is there a contradiction in that policy position?
Okay. No.
Okay, so that's the position that I recommend that all Democrats obtain. And then there's nothing inconsistent about gerrymandering the fuck out of your individual state for the purpose of, and I'll add, bringing about ultimately, I believe, the end of partisan gerrymandering by showing the Republicans how damaging it will be to their own constituencies in these blue states and doing it better than them.
But if the state is already democratically owned and has power on that, why wouldn't they pass the law to?
Because because it's not adhering to their principles. So we don't have to ban them. We don't have to be in favor of independent redistricting in our state until and unless the Republicans are forced to do it too.
But again, the principles of the Democratic Party was to outlaw it anyway.
But I'm offering. No. I'm offering you a better principle, a new principle, a principle that is the principle that Democrats should take. If they took a different principle before, that principle was stupid. The principle should be, given that the Supreme Court has given its stamp of approval to partisan gerrymandering, they have done that. The Supreme Court has said that this is to be held in the political, it's a political question, right? The Supreme Court has defined it as a political question. Given the fact that the Supreme Court has defined it as a political question, regardless of what the previous principle was, the Democrats should embrace a new principle. That new principle ought to be only ban partisan gerrymandering within your state if every state has to do it, or if the Republicans have to do it too. That's a better principle, and that's the principle that I'm pushing for Democrats to have. What's wrong with that principle?
There's nothing wrong with that principle,
Great.
but that's not the principle that we are following to this day.
That's the principle that we should follow, is what I'm saying. Regardless, I agree.
Still,
I agree. We're not following it, and to the extent that we're not following, we should.
Right. So, I'm agreeing with you.
Sick.
On
So
that
you
one.
agree with Gavin?
should.
So what do you disagree with Gavin? Gavin is proposing that, and I think that that's based and awesome, and he should do it. And if he doesn't do it, I'm going to be pissed at him, and I'm not going to ever vote for him in a nomination contest.
But again, we're following a rabbit hole.
What's the rabbit hole? What do you mean by that?
So if Texas actually gets their gerrymandering shit passed, California is going to go through with it. What's the next state? And then the next state. And then the next state. That's my problem.
Why is that a problem? The Democrats should follow suit, and they should do tit for tat. What do you want them to just to gerrymander the fuck out of Texas and lose 6, 7, 8 seats and not do anything about it? On net, I think we be way worse off if we just do nothing.
No, but I'm saying I'm with you. And was it the John Lewis law? Gerrymandering was illegal.
There are multiple laws in which it's been proposed, but the John Lewis Voting Rights Act or something like that. Yeah, there have been multiple laws.
No, I am all for that. Gerrymandering should be outlawed. Now, again, I go back to my previous statement. If there's a Democratic Party holding power in a particular state, what holds them to stop and say gerrymandering is illegal in this state?
What's holding them to stop? What's your question?
The Democratic Party holds power in a particular state. And again, I say Minnesota, regardless of what margin they hold. What makes it wrong or right to say Minnesota, for instance, says gerrymandering is illegal in this state?
What makes it wrong is it doesn't adhere to the principle that I just laid out, and the reason why that principle is preferable is not adhering to that principle cements or helps to cement an authoritarian Republican majority in Congress and helps to further cement partisan gerrymandering as the state of the play in the various states, because the Republicans will face no punishment for their absurd gerrymanders, all the while the Democrats are too noble to do what the Supreme Court said that they're allowed to do. And so the reason why it's bad is it leads to bad outcomes and it offers no benefit. Do you agree or disagree with that? Name one benefit. Name one benefit that it provides.
Well, I disagree with that. When it comes to if that particular state, the districts are already following the constitutional guidelines laid out by the Supreme Court, that they have every right to have these particular districts laid out. Gerrymandering cannot go forward regardless of what the situation is, and they have outlawed the situation, which is what the Democratic Party has been laying out with the.
Why should we ban it? So why should we not gerrymander the fuck out of Minnesota? Why should we not gerrymander the fuck out of New York and California? Can you give a reason why we shouldn't do that?
Why would you if it's already
I gave you a reason. Wait. I gave you a reason. We should do it because to not do it is to forgo an advantage for Democrats on an issue where the Supreme Court has said it's a political question, and on an issue in which until and unless there's a uniform solution across all states, it will necessarily give partisan advantage to the worst among us who are willing to gerrymander the fuck out of it. And so so long as you play the game of being pure in your independent states, you're not advancing the cause of independent gerrymandering across the country. All the while, you're helping to entrench an authoritarian Republican majority when it's not necessary or legally required.
But at the same time, we are fighting against MAGA propaganda that are going to get out in front of it, and we have no guarantee that
Yeah, you
Democrats
can't
are
fight
going
like
to
a
win those
pussy.
districts.
You can't lose like we can't go into these fights. And what I'm so glad about Newsom is playing scared. If you play scared, the opponent can sense the fear. You just can't assume that you're going to lose the optics war. Many times Democrats are winning the optics war. So the example I give is the decision to stand down on the Republican MAGA CR that was proposed by Republican Congress without any Democratic input, and then Chuck Schumer passed it stupidly without any concessions. That was an issue in which the Democrats were winning the public court of opinion, and the MAGA propaganda be damned, right? So if you play scared, if you play like a little bitch, you're going to get eaten alive and get your lunch, eaten from out of your fucking back pocket. You just can't have that mentality, the loser mentality. We have the truth behind us. We have the fact that Gavin Newsom is only considering this because Trump pushed the Texas people to do it. So obviously they initiated it. If you don't trust yourself to lead messaging on that issue, you should just fucking quit and get out of the way and let other people stand in to do that messaging for you. I'm so tired of people who are running scared on when you have a silver platter argument, you have plenty of people who want to support you, who want to push out your messaging. If they can't make hay with that, then they should step aside for other communicators to get and like do the actual job.
I mean, that's fair, but we also have to compete against that lefty group.
Which lefty? You think the lefty group is going to be fighting us to not gerrymander?
They're going to be fighting tooth and nail to.
No, they're not. Not on this. They'll fight on Israel. They'll fight on $15 minimum wage. They'll fight on other shit. They're not gonna ding Gavin Newsom for fighting hard on redistricting. They support aggressive redistricting against Republicans. They do.
They are single issue voters that it can consistently fuck up every single political and electoral.
Regardless of whether that's not true, can you find anything wrong with what I just said? So what I just told you is the lefties all are making fun of the Democrats for not doing this earlier. They are not against the Democrats fighting fire with fire. They support more fighting fire with fire. Sometimes they support fighting fire with fire when it's not appropriate. Sometimes I'll fight them when they're going too far. But on this issue, they're calling Democrats losers for not doing this earlier.
Okay, what candidates are you going to put in places in those?
That's not the issue. So the issue is gerrymandering, not which candidates. This is different.
Well, it kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
No. But
Okay.
to the extent that it does, it would benefit lefties and benefit progressives. It would give them safer seats.
I mean, they would like to think so. However, when it comes down to it, I don't. I would disagree on that.
It would help because it would if you create a bunch of safe Democratic seats or more safe Democratic seats. Now there could be a way in which you gerrymander in which it's a narrower margin in certain places. So, but I just think that's like, if you create much more safe Democratic districts, like there's a way you can gerrymander the out of California, New York, and all that stuff, where you have very few Republican seats, and then I think the incentives are to become crazier left wing and become more left wing. So no, I don't think that they're against gerrymandering. If you actually ask them, they're all fucking laughing at people for not doing it sooner. Again, I come back to that. You can say whatever you want in terms of a hypothetical argument that they might have, but the truth is, the lefties I talk to, the lefties I follow, the lefties who are the thought leaders, are fucking saying it's about time that some Democrats are talking about this.
I mean, I get where you're going, and casting a wider net embraces more of them in certain districts, but at the same time, the majority of them, especially let's say Texas, if you were going to break up districts in a wildly weird way, like they are, let's say Austin, for instance.
Yeah, these are the Republicans doing this. Yes, the Republicans doing this. Correct.
But they're breaking up the Austin district and going 300 miles east to the border almost of Louisiana. Do you think that that's going to help out the Democratic Party?
No, it's going to fucking hurt them, obviously.
Correct. So so with that example, that's where I'm going with that. We have no guarantee
Wait,
that
wait,
an
wait, wait,
individual
wait, wait,
is.
wait, wait. So you're talking about the Republican map, right?
I'm talking about a particular map that's being gerrymandered in my state.
Yeah, the
I'm not.
Republican.
I don't know about nobody's proposed a map in California yet.
No, yeah. So you're talking about the Texas map offered by Republicans is going to hurt Democrats and hurt left wing
Yes,
people, like Jasmine Crockett, you just mentioned, right? Jasmine
correct.
Crockett is a member of the Squad. So
As an example, yes.
so the partisan gerrymander in Texas is going to hurt her. If there were a partisan gerrymander of Democrats in Texas, it would help her
How so?
because it would give her she would get a safer seat, or she would be with a larger caucus, or people like Jasmine Crockett would be more apt to run for office. You have to think that not only does this kind of thing put a damper on actual Congress people who want to run for their seats again, who are now being gerrymandered into Republican seats, it also has the potential to depress talent who would be up and coming, Democratic members of Congress, but have been basically run out of the state because of the gerrymander. So in every sense, like if Jasmine Crockett were a state member in Texas, she would be voting against the gerrymander. And the proof is in the pudding. All the Democrats, including the most left-wing Democrats in the Texas representatives, among the Texas legislature, have left the state because obviously the most left-wing
Correct.
members are against the most right-wing gerrymander. Why do I have to explain this to you?
No, you don't. You don't have to explain it to me because
Okay.
I'm following it. Like again, I said I'm in Jasmine's district as of right now, but that's Dallas. That's not Austin.
Yeah, so what's your problem with what Newsom is doing? Why are you against Democrats
Again,
fighting back?
My problem with that is going down the rabbit hole, is spiraling down. This state, that state, this state, that state. Everybody is going to start following the gerrymandering.
Dude, it's
Political
already happened. I don't know what to
race.
tell you. It's too late. The shit is happening all over the country. We're just talking about the amount of degree of partisan gerrymandering.
No, again, I initially
Okay.
said I absolutely support everything that Texas is doing because they are fighting against every state doing that. I
Wait, wait,
do not.
wait, wait, wait. You support what Texas is doing? Texas isn't.
Yes.
Texas. Okay, are you trolling me? You're a troll.
No, no, I support every single Texas Democrat leaving the
Oh,
state to
yeah, I'm
bring
talking about Texas the
reform.
state, but Texas the state is increasing their gerrymander. They're making a more
No,
obscene
you're,
gerrymander.
you're right. I support every single Texas representative fleeing the state, or if you will, or going out of the state to break quorum to break this fucking bill. My problem is with Gavin Newsom and other
Yeah, what's
Democratic
wrong with what they're
states.
doing? I'm asking. So I already know that you have a problem with what
I
Gavin Newsom
know.
is doing. I'm asking you, what is the
I
problem?
told you what my problem
Your problem is the
that
rabbit
we're
hole. But I
going-
just told you. I responded to that. I said we're in the rabbit hole. We're already in it.
we're not yet.
We are in it. Republicans
Tell
are
me-
pushing us into the hole.
The Republicans are trying to push us in the hole.
They're going to do it. I don't know what pipe
They're
you're smoking.
trying to do it.
They're going
That's
to do
correct.
it. They're going to do it.
And they can find another state to do it. However, I will not. I can't support.
Why not?
Be, why would we? But again,
Because it makes things better, not worse, right? So, like, would you rather a situation in which Republicans are the only ones that partisan that do the gerrymandering in that way, and Democrats do nothing, or would you rather us fight fire with fire to at least have an even situation where Democratic states are doing what the Republicans are doing, all the while being in favor of a law that gets rid of it all? Why would you rather live in the world in which Republicans just have an absolute advantage because they're the ones willing to do the thing that the Supreme Court said they're allowed to do?
Because I lean more centrist, and I can't.
It's not about
stand-
centrist. It's not about that, right? So, like,
I'm looking at the overall picture, and when it comes to the bottom line, a particular state going into this particular spiral does not excuse another state doing the
That's because
exact
you're
same
seeing
thing.
this, you're atomizing it. You're seeing this as a collection of individual things. You shouldn't, right? What matters is the overall state of the country. What we care about is a unified system where we're getting rid of partisan gerrymandering. Anything less than that is giving unfair partisan advantage to one state over another for no reason, right? Because there's no principle that you're forced to accept that partisan gerrymandering is unacceptable in every situation. So, for example, I could adhere to a principle where partisan gerrymandering is acceptable to counteract other partisan gerrymandering. There's nothing marrying you to the principle that partisan gerrymandering is always wrong in every instance. And I would argue that not partisan gerrymandering in response to partisan gerrymandering is furthering the potentiality that we'll never get rid of partisan gerrymandering because you're entrenching a group of psychopath Republicans who will never ban partisan gerrymandering, especially when they're receiving no detriment, right? Like, imagine a situation where Republicans are receiving all the benefit for partisan gerrymandering and none of the negatives because the Democrats are always going to do independent redistricting. In that situation, what are the odds that Republicans ever get rid of partisan gerrymandering when they get all the benefit and none of the detriment? You understand what I'm saying?
I do. And at the same time, on the other hand, again, I go back to my previous question: why don't democratically held states outlaw gerrymandering?
They can only do it in their states. They can only do it with respect to their states. So,
but they already hold power. They already hold power.
Holy shit, dude! So, dude, Enrico, just follow me, okay? So,
okay,
Democrats can do, with some limitations actually, in their states what they want to do. Republicans can do in their states what they want to do, depending on the makeup of the legislatures and the governor's office, all that stuff. Totally grant that. Okay, you're asking why do the Democrats not just ban it? Like, that's the whole conversation we're having. I'm saying they should not ban it, because to ban it and to not do it is a unilateral disarmament that confirms that the Republicans will get all the benefits from partisan gerrymandering and none of the costs. And in that situation, our long-term odds of getting rid of this system are very, very low. And in the meantime, we're entrenching a Republican authoritarian majority in Congress when there is no legal reason to do so, when there's no ethical reason to do so. There's just no reason to do it because you've adopted a principle that, in essence, partisan gerrymandering is always wrong. But nothing is committing you to that position. Why would you take such a stupid position? Why would you take the stupid position that partisan gerrymandering is wrong in all circumstances and that you should wipe it out in all circumstances? Why would you accept such a ridiculous notion?
Well, then why would the Democrats propose it to outlaw it to begin with?
Because, okay, so in the individual states, or you mean as a universal policy?
No,
in the individual states?
No, with the federal bills that they have,
because they hold to a view that in general, if we had everyone playing by the same rules, it would be better off. If we had everyone doing independent redistricting, it would be better off. And there's nothing inconsistent about that. Now, with respect to the individual state provisions, then why did Democrats make these independent commissions? Yeah, they were fucking stupid to do so. They should never have done it. It was a huge mistake for California and New York to be holier than thou and to adopt independent redistricting when the Republicans weren't willing to do so. So yeah, you've identified a problem. The Democrats should not have done that. They should not have disarmed in advance. And it's screwing us right now because it screwed us out of the House of Representatives this last election cycle. Democrats would have won if they hadn't been stupid with their own states. Like I'm just telling you the truth. If New York had not done something stupid by adopting independent redistricting when the rest of the country didn't, then we would have held on to the House. But the reason why we lost the House is because the Democrats were stupid. And so we learn. And so you need to learn and not be stupid.
And that's fair. And again, I appreciate you making the comment. So I identified a problem with the question that
the problem was the Democrats were, someone said in the chat, too aspirational and didn't realize that they were shooting themselves in the foot by helping to entrench Republicans who would never have any intention of getting rid of partisan gerrymandering. And basically, they have no obligation. Democrats have no obligation, legally, ethically, or otherwise, to do so. So yeah, you've identified a mistake. And what's great is we now have the opportunity, at least some places, it's hard to undo all the damage, to undo that mistake. For example, when Gavin Newsom proposes undoing their independent commissions, that's a good thing, right? Because it was a mistake to put those in place in the first hand without having a law that applied both to Democratic states and to Republican states. And so I hope you now, having had that all put out in front of you, you would back Gavin Newsom's attempt to even the playing field, at least attempt to, right? On net, probably the Republicans stand more to gain overall by this. Thank you so much for the raid, Kid Not Kin. Very much appreciate the raid. Kid Not Kin, very much appreciate the raid. Everyone, shout out, Kid Not Kin.
Thank you, kid.
Thank you, Kid. So, like, I hope now that I've laid it all out, you can agree that it's better for the Democrats not to unilaterally disarm, and in the long-term interest of both the country and this specific fight, to do what they're allowed to do and what they have an ethical obligation to do, which is to fight fire with fire and to gerrymander invent new shapes if you have to, of their various different states.
Well, no.
Why not?
Well, it's just me, my personal politics.
You have
and
a
everything.
personal political dedication to no partisan gerrymander under any circumstance? What kind of stupid principle is that? Why would you ever have that principle?
Well, the thing is, I'm not fight fire with fire. Find another way to counteract that.
Why?
And-
Wait. Do you have a principle that it's always bad to partisan gerrymandering no matter the circumstance? Is that your principle that you hold to?
Yeah, well, yeah, because
Why?
I supported the bill that was going through.
No, but that's a national ban. That would apply to
Yes.
everyone. You should support that. But what we're talking about here are individual states. There's no requirement that you support everything nationally that is done on the state level, right? There's no requirement that be the case. Why would it necessarily follow that just because you agree with it on a national level, you must agree with it on a state level? Why are you holding to that?
I had my opposition on that one.
No. Wait, no. I want you to explain it. Why would you hold that just because you support a bill on a national level, you would necessarily support a state equivalent of it? There's nothing that marries you to that.
To be fair, I don't.
Okay, if
I
you
don't.
don't, then
However-
don't support something stupid. Why would you want to give the Republicans Congress for the rest of time?
I don't.
Well, then why do you support Gavin Newsom fucking standing down and just letting the Republicans do all their gerrymanderings while we just fucking stand with our dick in our hands?
Don't.
Yes,
I
you
don't
do.
support. No, sir. I don't support any state.
Me neither,
gerrymandering.
bro. But it's okay. There's a very great line in The Two Towers. It's a movie called The Two Towers, Lord of the Rings. Open war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not. That's what Aragorn says to King Theoden. King Theoden says, I will not risk open war with Isengard. And Aragorn says, open war is upon you, whether you would risk it or not. We are here, all right? We're in the fucking hole right now. We have our dicks in our hand, and we need to shit or get off the pot, bro. Like, this whole utopia that I wish existed, I'm right there with you, that we have no partisan gerrymandering, that is just not available right now because there's no will in Congress to get it done. The only way we might get it done is to get the other stakeholders, that is the Republicans, to internalize the cost of some of their actions. But if you're insistent on unilaterally disarming, then Republicans will forever get the benefits of partisan gerrymandering and will never, ever internalize the costs. And that is just not a strategy that is going to, obtain some good outcome. So why would you support it?
Okay. I support the unilateral disarming of gerrymandering.
Why?
Why? Because it's bullshit. It's all illegal. It's not
The
necessary.
Supreme Court said, so when you said it's illegal, let's stop there. The Supreme Court said it's a non-justiciable question. It is a political question. Who are the political branches? One, it's Congress, but also the states is a first instance. The political branches of the states. They said it's a non-justiciable question. So it's just a matter of state law or congressional law. And so it's not illegal to do this, right? To the extent that there's a state law that prohibits it, we can just get rid of that state law.
Okay, and that's fair. And I'm trying to remember. Oh God damn it! When it comes down to gerrymandering, you can't build a coalition under. Help me out, Pisco,
Yeah.
please. I'm stumbling on this one. You can't, if you gerrymander, you can't have a coalition for a particular race, population.
What are you
Help
talking
me
about?
out.
So racial gerrymanders are unconstitutional under the Equal Protection Clause. You can't have racial gerrymander. So that's correct.
Correct.
Okay, and it's
Yeah,
also illegal under
and
other federal law.
yeah,
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about partisan gerrymander.
and at this moment, right now, that's what we're facing here in Texas.
No, what you're facing is partisan gerrymandering that will almost certainly 100% stand scrutiny in the Supreme Court. There is no shot that a Texas insane gerrymander is going to get struck down in the courts as against the First Amendment, at least from a federal perspective. Perhaps there's some state law, but I doubt it, bro. And to the extent that there's a state provision or state law, they're just going to change that law. So, like, I don't know what to say, dude.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I want you to be not just like, I don't want you to be like reluctantly. Maybe I'm changing my mind on this. I want you to be a stalwart advocate. Yes, Gavin Newsom, what he's doing is based, and the reason it's based is because it serves our long-term interest of getting rid of this shit. Our long-term interest is to get rid of this shit, but we're never going to do that if we just allow the Republicans not to internalize the cost of their actions. You get me? We'll never get rid of this because all we're going to do is entrench these authoritarian Republicans in Congress when there's no legal or ethical reason to do that. There's just not a reason, unless you hold to these absurd principles, that it's it's wrong inherently to partisan gerrymandering under any circumstance, which of course that's a ridiculous principle to hold to. You should of course be okay with partisan gerrymandering if it's done to end partisan gerrymandering across the whole country, right? You might implement something to end it across the whole country. And right now, we don't have many other solutions.
That's fair. I'll give you that. Okay, because ultimately, yes, my stance is it's all bullshit. Like, we should not have this whatsoever.
If you hate partisan gerrymandering, you should be in favor of what Gavin Newsom is doing, because that is the only way that we're going to get rid of this partisan gerrymandering is to have Democrats hold and win elections. Until they do, we will not get rid of partisan gerrymandering. It is an agenda item for Democrats to get rid of partisan gerrymandering. It's not an agenda item of Republicans now, save for like Mike Lawler, and the only reason he's against it is because his own seat is at risk. That's the only reason he's against it. So if you care about partisan gerrymandering, if you care about getting rid of partisan gerrymandering, you need to support Governor Newsom. What he's doing is good. It's correct. It's long past due. To the extent that he doesn't support a 52-0 partisan gerrymander, and he should be criticized. So I don't want you don't have to feel bad at all for supporting Democrats doing this stuff. It is not a a war of our own making. The Republicans chose this war. They chose to go down this route. The Democrats at every stage were fighting in litigation fights, were actually proposing legislation to end this shit. But we're in the fight now, and we can't just give up, because to give up this fight means we're giving up the country. You get that?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
And can I be fair in saying if there were more democratically held states involved in this fight and involved in this whole uproar, would I feel better on that? Yes, absolutely.
But everyone's
if it's not just California throwing out that, and I know
it's not just California. It's New York. It's these other states. And look at what it's doing to their polling and to their approval. Hochul has been mired in a bunch of kind of people being ambivalent about her and being angry at her. I have certainly not supported Hochul in recent months because of her weakness on things like Mayor Adams, not supporting Mamdani, that kind of thing. But when she says, yeah, we're going to fight fire with fire, the base loves it. And the reason, and it's not crazy radicals who only love it. By the way, a minute ago, you said that the radicals wouldn't support this kind of shit. That's not true. The radicals do. And the lefties do support partisan gerrymandering. But it's not just the lefties. It's not just the crazies. The rank and file Democrats are so sick and tired of having to stomach the Republican machinations, the Republican double standards here, the Republican, basically their whole line here, that they can do whatever they want without any pushback. And they're loving it. When Newsom has shot up in the polls because of him standing firm here, and you should follow suit. And it's not a radical position. You can still be a centrist and support this action, because ultimately it will lead to the outcome that you most care about, which is the end of partisan gerrymandering.
So we have New York, California. Who else?
I forget which other Democratic states are considering it. Let me see. I think Illinois might change a couple things. Democratic states
That's
considering
where the majority of the Democratic.
gerrymandering.
That's where Pritzker is, and they're bullshitting their way through things, but that's fine. But that's where my point is, when it comes down to it. If we didn't just have California, which according to the media, according to Trump, etc., that's the biggest villain on the planet. Apparently.
What who?
California, the state of California, and Gavin Newsom.
What about them?
I'm just saying they are the biggest outliers. They're the biggest Trump villains on the planet when it comes down to it. That's what everybody talks about on things. So that's why I'm saying if we had more than California, and again, just
New York is a villain too. Illinois is a villain. It doesn't matter that they're villains. You can't get into the MAGA mind virus of playing on their terms. You need to play strong. Don't play scared.
My point is, if we had more states involved in this conversation other than California, Illinois, New York, which is like the three biggest blue states in the country. If we had North Carolina coming in, if we had
North Carolina is controlled by Republicans except for the governor. Okay, so it's not going to happen.
I get it, but that governor is apparently a front runner, a big front runner for
Stein?
Political. Yeah, no.
Roy Cooper, you're talking about?
Not Roy Cooper. I'm sorry, not North Carolina. If we had other Democratic governors, like say
Andy Beshear in Kentucky.
Yeah, Bashir.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to redistrict. Yeah, Ossoff is a senator and U.S. senator, and Bashir's not going to be able to redistrict. Their legislatures are Republicans. Okay, they're Democratic governors in charge of Republican states.
But again, if we had more Democratic leadership speaking out on this in other states,
they're starting to, and we should encourage it. We should encourage it.
And I'm with you on that one.
Are you now? That's great. I love it. You ever read there's a movie called Ender's Game, and in the movie Ender's Game, they say fear is the mind killer. All right, fear is the mind killer. You cannot run scared. You cannot play to the narratives of MAGA. You gotta grab your dick, put it on your fucking shoulder, and start walking around with some oomph. And that means embracing good policies, which there's ethical sense to support, like reciprocal partisan gerrymandering. There's no reason to be against it if you're a Democrat or if you're an institutionalist. If you're an institutionalist, you should absolutely be in favor of partisan gerrymandering in response to what the Republicans are doing, if you believe in the institutions of the country.
And we can get into a conversation on that on another time. I'm not going to waste your time on that one. But again, I started this conversation as I had a lot of questions about gerrymandering stuff. You're a legal guy when it comes down to it, and Abbott talking about arresting the representatives and advocating seats and things like that. Generally, I wanted to know your thoughts on that one. However, the Texas Constitution is not one to allow shit like that to happen. However, the FBI is apparently tracking down people that are left, all over the place.
Don't be scared. Yeah, don't be scared.
No, I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I respect them, and I am all for them, and I will support them.
But if someone said we shouldn't really fight fire by fire, we shouldn't leave the state. It's not procedurally proper for us to leave the state. You'd be like, "F you guys."
Absolutely, break quorum, do everything you need to do.
And partisan gerrymander. If you're Newsom, right? Say it with me. Let's go, Newsom. Ready? Let's go, Newsom. Let's go, Newsom. I didn't hear you.
Let you have that piece. I can't.
You have to. Wait, don't be a little bitch. Support what he's doing.
Yo. Dare you, sir.
Hey. Listen to me. It's going to be all right. You need to support the governor.
No,
listen. The governor needs your support right now. He needs your support. You need to give it to him. You need to encourage him to be strong and you need to encourage others to be like. It's no different than breaking quorum. It's the same shit.
So here's the thing: if they do the vote for their and go against their constitution or amend their constitution for gerrymandering, I'm in it. Okay. However,
That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. That's what they want to do.
And that's what they want to do. That's not what they are doing. That's not what they have.
That's what they want to do, is to change, either to do it legally. They don't want to do it illegally. All right. They want to do it legally.
Okay. So I can, again, because I'm going to stand my principles. If they want to do it legally, fine.
All right.
I'm not going to argue against.
Oh yeah, we got it.
I across the board in all 50 states cannot condone gerrymandering.
Yeah, I don't either. I want to get rid of it, but the only way to do that is to kick some Republicans out of office and to do what the Supreme Court said was okay for us to do, and to install a new government that would actually bring about an end to partisan gerrymandering, because the Republicans sure as fuck are never going to do it.
So I'm going to leave you with one other question, and I'll let you get back to somebody else or whatever. How do you think we're going to do? What's going to happen on the midterms?
It's going to be tight. I think the Democrats have an advantage, an edge to take the House. I think that the Republicans are favored to take the Senate. If I had to bet, I would say 65% Dems take the House with like a 10, 15 seat majority, and that the Senate remains in Republican hands. That would be my bet. But that would be huge, okay? That would be huge. That's not nothing. That would be huge. Now, I'll add in a sweetener. The more good we do, the more you encourage fighters, and for Gavin Newsom to not be a little cuck and to be stronger, the better we'll do. The better we'll do. And so we need to just be strong, be unified, and honestly, stop with the blackpilling, get to the meat of the issue, which is being strong, being a fighter, and honestly, fighting fire with fire. We need to do it.
Do you think the midterms rely on what's this gerrymandering battle right now?
Yes.
Fair. Easy question, apparently.
Yes. Think about it right now, right? The margin right now is within what we're talking about, difference of 10, 12 seats. I mean, this would absolutely make or break it.
I'm not asking about that. I'm asking about this whole thing. If the Democrats fail to come back and give quorum, if this whole gerrymandering shit happen here in Texas, everybody's looking at Texas right now.
The quorum thing is not going to work. Okay? So the quorum thing is a stunt to get us more excited, to bring attention to it. Texas is going to gerrymander. You need to get that through your head, okay? The quorum thing, this is a stunt to make us realize how important of an issue it is. That's what the whole thing is aimed at. But Texas will pass a gerrymander. Bet on it.
They have until September, right?
Listen, I don't know the particulars here. Just bet on it, okay?
So you think Texas is going to get gerrymandered?
Yes, I will. I do think that, yes.
Okay. Good talk.
Yeah. Hey, thank you so much. And I hope that you've walked away from this conversation a little bit more sympathetic with Gavin and willing to support his effort here.
We're getting there.
All right. Hey, appreciate you.
All right, boss.
Later.